live.
About to, about to, about
And
to.
we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah!
Yay!
Yes.
Well, we-
Man, this is so exciting. You are our very first live celebrity interview. Now we've done a few on the
Yes.
streets, but you are our first live one.
oh,
Yes.
always glad to be at first.
Yes, sir. So and like you said, we only got 3 minutes left now.
Right. 3 minutes.
Ooh, we feel so honored to have you.
Oh, it's
I
good.
was
Yes,
watching you yesterday.
What were you watching yesterday?
5 Heartbeats.
Oh, you watching the Heartbeats? Okay.
That's one of our favorites.
That, that was my daughter's favorite movie. I know she watched it over like 600 or 700 times.
Oh, okay.
Probably even more than that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, she watched it till that tape popped. That's back when it was VHSs. She watched that one till it popped.
That's back when the union contract said paid you more money for tape than they do now.
Right.
They paid less than a quarter of what they paid for tape.
Mm.
The union sold us out in the last, I think it was 1980 when they negotiated the contract.
Wow.
Mm.
Is that one of the reasons y'all was striking?
Well, not this time. But back in 1980, when they did the contract, they put in the producers put in a clause in the contract for future technology. It's less than what they were paying for tape. Now, how you be an idiot and not understand future technology is beyond me.
Right.
Right.
The negotiators sold us out. So, a quick story. When I was my first check for The Color Purple, my residual check was for more money than I had made for the original production. And I worked 5 days, and we worked from 12 to 16 hours a day. So when my check for Speed was I anticipated my check for Speed. I said, ka-ching, ka-ching, I'm getting ready to get paid.
Right.
And finally that check came, and I looked at it, and it was like maybe for 20-25% of what I thought it was going to be. And it took me years to find out why that was. And finally I was able to get some information and found out that the producers that put in that contract in 1980, I think it was 1980, for future technology, it was less than tape.
Wow.
And the short-sightedness of those, that's why I don't trust the what they did, or the negotiations for this union contract. They want us to ratify. I just don't trust them, They're not working for me. They're not working for the everyday actor. They're working for Tom Cruise, who doesn't need the money. They're working for Tom Hanks and those people who their benefits, whether they get benefits or not, they're going to be just fine.
Right.
Yes.
Well, were they supportive during the strike? Were
In
those
what aspect?
actors?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't go to work, if that's what you mean. But they can. But of course, they can afford not to work. They can afford not to work ever again.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they're supportive in the sense that they're going for what they need. And the big sticking issue in this contract was the AI, which means that the producers could take your image and use it forever without paying you.
Crazy.
Well, the contract, I don't trust the wording of it, because there's 4 tiers, and I forget exactly what they are. But one of the tiers is if you don't sign and say they can use it, then they just won't hire you.
Wow.
That's so unfair.
Right.
It's just like, wow. And
And
those
you get
that
screwed everywhere.
those that Tom Hanks, the Tom Hanks is, like I say, Tom Hanks, Tom Cruises, they can negotiate their own. But think about the kid that's just now coming up,
Right.
who's just trying to get their foot in the business.
Right.
Everything that they have to sign. It's like music. I mean, you know, you get these kids. Tupac signed a blank contract in jail so he could get out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once these kids in music get like 2 or 3 CDs, whatever you want to call it nowadays, then they sign with the company. But then once the kid gets wise and gets popular, the company says, "Okay, we got 10,000 kids behind you. We don't need you anymore. Bye-bye." And the kid hasn't made any money off the 2 or 3 projects that he's done for the company. The company has all the money. You know, the kids run around and rapping about, yeah, I got bling bling, I got this, I got that. You don't have a damn thing. You don't own the house you live in. The company owns the house you live in. You don't own the jewelry around your neck.
Right.
Wow.
You know, these are things they need to know too.
Right.
These are things they need to know. And that's why I love coming on and talking with you guys, because you can get that information out. You have followers.
Yeah.
And you know, trust and believe. I don't need to do anything anymore.
Right.
Right. Definitely.
But I do stuff because of the fact that, see, I'll give you a little background on my background.
Okay.
I have a bachelor's in theater from Notre Dame. I have a master's from the University of Michigan in theater. I turned down Yale and Cornell to work on my doctorate. I taught at Illinois State University in the theater department for several years. Ted Lange, who played the bartender in Love Boat, got me a scholarship to go to London and study at the London Shakespeare Academy in London, England. My last 9 to 5 job was at that time I was one of the highest Black executives in Hollywood.
Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Yes.
Well, thank you. But see, that's the thing about it. I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have that background, and didn't even know that I was blessed and fortunate at that time. I have information. I have knowledge about how this industry works. And I have done everything from writing, producing, directing, acting. There's nothing in this business that I haven't done. I've been in the ivory towers. I've seen how those white folks talk about us because they forgot that I was Black. I was just part of the background. You know, it was the spook who sat by the door. So I listened to them, and they would say things. And that's when they would say things in front of me. Now, who knows what they were saying behind closed doors when they got together, really, with each other. But I have that information, and I don't want to die with that information here.
Right.
I want you all to have that information so you can pass it along to your prodigy.
Okay.
Those kids need to have that information. They need to have the knowledge that this ancestor has. And that I garnered from my ancestors.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we appreciate
that's what I love to do. That's why I'm still here.
Yeah, you've been here for many years too.
I've been blessed and fortunate enough to make my living doing this since 1986. I haven't had a 9 to 5 job since 1986. That's most of the people I started off with aren't in the business anymore because they couldn't handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's this business is loaded with frustration.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not all fun and games. I mean, most people just see the end result.
Right.
They don't see.
That's why you let them know that when you go to the industry and they're trying to appease you with flash and gold and the money you'll have, you have to know, is this something I'm going to be able to keep, or is this all I'm going to owe you back? You know, you have to know how to budget what you get.
Exactly.
It's very political.
Exactly. But at the same time, now I'm not gonna poo-poo it because I've had more the biggest ball you could ever experience.
Oh yeah. You just have to know how to have it.
Yeah, and I've been places that I never. I'm still that kid from the South Side of Chicago who didn't have enough to eat sometimes, but I was blessed in the fact that I had 2 parents in my household.
Yeah.
I had
that's rare nowadays.
Yeah,
that's rare nowadays. Yeah.
Oh, can I ask you one question because we do have the comments up? A young lady wants to know, out of all of your characters that you played, what character is close to who you are in real life?
None of them.
It ain't Big Red.
That's the thing about it. See, being raised in Chicago, I'm a South Side baby.
Okay.
I know those people.
That hairstyle was a Chicago hairstyle too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but see, that's back when I was growing up. It was before integration,
Right.
and so everybody lived in the neighborhood. We had doctors, we had lawyers, we had plumbers, we had electricians, we had pimps, we had everybody.
I'm about to say you can say it. You can say
So
it.
You can say it.
I'm about to say you can say it. You can say it.
Hold, okay. How you know what I want to say?
I know what you was about to say. You still Big Red at the end of the day.
Right.
But see, I got to pick and choose what I wanted to, what I wanted to be. And I would look at pimps and I say, I never want to be a pimp because they work too hard.
Okay.
I never want to work that hard. They're on call 24/7. But see, it's like I could have been a doctor. I could have gone to law school. Matter of fact, I was accepted into law school, and then I would go to my people's houses that I knew, and they'd be sitting in the dark reading Torts, and Torts is a law book about this thick, in the dark with their laundry pile to the ceiling. And I thought to myself, that ain't what I want to do with my life. So I didn't go to law school. But yeah, and I thought as a kid, you think that everybody has those opportunities.
No.
Yeah.
As a kid, I thought everybody ate beans for dinner because all my friends ate beans for dinner.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
We were all in the same boat. So I thought that was normal. Not until you start growing up and seeing the world. And I was, once again, here we go, theater. See, theater saved me a lot.
Yeah.
At 16 years of age, there was a priest named Father Barry Schneider who did one play a year. He would either do Raisin in the Sun or he would do Hamlet. He alternated every year. Well, when I got to do the play, I was a sophomore, and he did Hamlet. Well, he would take that play, not only do it at the high school, he took those plays and took them on tour. So we went to Minnesota, we went to Wisconsin, we went to the state of Illinois, and we stayed in white people's houses. Now, can you imagine at 16 years of age going and staying in those big houses and seeing they had meat for every meal?
Yeah.
That their kids had their own rooms, that there was a large yards. That changes your life.
Right.
Yes, it does.
And it was a bigger world out there.
Yeah, there's a huge world out here that you see. You don't know how to, at 16 years of age, you don't know how to put it into perspective. But you see, I've never forgotten that.
Right.
Now, were you always interested in acting?
I think so, because I remember the first time I was on stage, I was 5 years old. And there was a nun, because I went to Catholic school all my life. Okay. And there was a nun that every year did a kindergarten play. And I have two older sisters and an older brother who were extremely popular in high school, in school, in grade school, high school, whatever. And by the time I came along, they were tired of the nuns were, another Hawthorne comes along. Well, I had to find a way, and apparently I stuttered all my life. I was so insecure. There's stories I might get in one of those, but so I had to find my way. And when I got to do the kindergarten play, all it was going around in a circle, going woo, 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 playing in Indian. All of a sudden, I realized people are watching me.
Right.
People are paying attention to me. So I went around in that circle the best of anybody. Nobody could out-circle me. It really started there. And then, of course, I had taken piano lessons, and I got on stage and did my recital, Lightning Ranger. But it's finally that attention. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was doing Hamlet in high school, and like I say, apparently I was a stutterer, and nobody could understand what I was saying. That's how insecure I was. My mother and my grandmother, who to the day they died, saw everything that I did. They even flew to California to see plays I was in. That's how supportive they were. They were supportive of all their children. There were 8 of us. But whatever we did, they supported us. But when my mother saw me in Hamlet, and I played one of the guards, and I had the first line in the play of, I think it was Bernardo. And I opened up the play and had one line. She always told the story that when I said that line, she leaned over to my grandmother and she whispered to my grandmother, "Is that James Herbert?" Because for the first time, I was clear as a bell. When I hit that stage, it became a whole different world for me. There was no stuttering. I enunciated, pronounced words. They could understand what the hell it is that I was saying.
Like it was your passion. That was your call.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how this world changed me. And so to answer your question, yeah, I think it's always been. When I was in college, I went to my major. I went through art. I went through English and art and music as majors. And then I realized, oh, this is not what I want to do. I went into theater and never looked back. Because I really didn't know that I could make a living or you look at all the other majors and you think, yeah, but no, theater is where I was. Theater's where, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, do you come from? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Now, do you come from an entertainment background? As anybody else in your family?
No, absolutely not. Nope. Nope. My mother was very creative, but she wasn't an entertainer or anything like that. Let me give some background on that too. See, I'm not the first person in my family that went to college. My grandparents went to college. My mother and father met in college. But see, this is the key. My grandmother went to college, got her degree at Bluefield State at HBCU, Bluefield State in Bluefield, West Virginia. She wound up being a housekeeper at a hospital because she couldn't get a job teaching. One of my grandfathers went to Hampton and was a music major. He wound up being a Pullman porter and then eventually went to Pullman and started building Pullman cars. My mother went to college. She was, my mother was, I think, a biology major. She couldn't get a job. So she wound up working all her life for the government, for Social Security. My father went to college. He was a double major in math and chemistry. He couldn't get a job. He wound up being a cab driver.
Wow.
He sent his resume to Slit's Brewery in Milwaukee. And they said, "Come up here right away. We need you as a chemist right now." He got to Milwaukee. They looked at him. They looked at his resume. And they said, "Oh, no, this can't be you." Gave him bus fare back to Chicago.
Yeah.
However, with all that frustration, my parents must have felt, with all that anger they must have felt, they never transferred it to their children. I never saw any of that. All of these things that I'm telling you now, I didn't find out about until I was an adult, and I got it through my brother who lived with my mother until she passed. She told him all these stories.
Wow.
So it never came out. As a child, I never got frustrated. I never believed anything, but I can do what I want to do.
Right. That's beautiful.
Wow.
No, it really is.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah, and I always have to sit my butt down and remember how blessed I really am. And I live my life. You know, I say this generally at the end of interviews, but I say it early right now. This is how I live my life. I don't be free till you be free, and I believe that.
Amen. I hear you.
Yes, sir.
See, I remember those days. I'm from that era. I'm 66.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I remember that, you know, your parents and stuff, you know, having to take, you know, just menial jobs, even though they had education and things like that. So they really tried to instill education in us.
Right.
So
Right.
I was really impressed to see that you had been to those various colleges and things like that. So,
Yeah, and it's just, and I didn't. I'm not the only one that deserves to go to those institutions. At the same time, my older brother and sister went to HBCUs. They went to Bluefield State also. And the difference between them and myself is the fact that I haven't seen none of them white boys I graduated with since I graduated, but maybe one or two every once in a while.
right.
They, on the other hand, are still connected with people they went to school with.
Okay. Yeah.
And they help each other if it's possible. See, Notre Dame always, the motto is God, country, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to get in contact with some of them white boys that graduated to, see if I could help me in the entertainment. Never heard back from them. And they came to speak at school talking about, yeah, if you ever need help, just hit me up and we'll see what we can do. Apparently that didn't count for me.
Yeah, they were talking to a select audience.
Yeah,
right.
And we know who that select audience is.
Right.
And I ain't part of that select audience. But see, a lot of this stuff, because I was on stage all the time, and I happened to, once again, I hit the right place at the right time, because I would do shows like Chekhov's, like The Seagull, and me being the only Black theater major, if I got cast in the show, it's like I got casted. I was playing Treplef in The Seagull. Everybody doesn't know what Seagull is. They don't know the play, but the Treplef is the lead in the show. And my mother and everybody else around me, all white. Well, those people at that point were colorblind casting. At Notre Dame, there was no graduate department, so all the undergrads got to do all the work. And so I was able to be on stage all the time. When I went to Michigan, a quick story about Michigan. When I went to grad school, right? Generally the colleges would do one major show at the end of the spring. It's the big spring show, and a lot of times it's a musical. But the year that I went to grad school, the big show in April or March, whatever it was, the big spring show was King Lear, Shakespeare. And it was going to be in the brand new theater called the Power Center, which is I think it was 1,500 seat house, brand new theater at the University of Michigan. And so when I got there, there was a white guy who was the hot guy on campus. He was the man, the man. So everybody said, well, why, don't even audition for Lear, because he's automatically going to be Lear. And I thought to myself, I said, I never said anything to anybody, but I thought to myself, y'all can believe that if he wants to.
You had enough plan, didn't you?
Right.
And I mean, that was consistent throughout the whole first semester and throughout before the auditions for the show after the first of the year. So everybody said, yeah, but you can audition for the Duke and all these other roles, but nah, he's going to be Lear. Well, of course, I went to audition. And what they did in college was they would post the cast list. They would put it outside on the bulletin board in the hallway. So everybody would run up and see who got cast, etc. So they posted it that morning. They posted after the callbacks, after the auditions, they posted the cast list, and everybody was around the bulletin board. I mean, there must have been like 15, 20 people reading.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all talking and talking and talking and talking. And so I walked up. And as soon as they saw I was walking up, it got really quiet. And it was like the Red Sea parting.
Mhm.
And I walked up to the cast list and I saw my name, King Louis.
I know that's right.
You know,
Right.
God is
I
good.
didn't say a word to anybody. I just looked at the cast list, turned around and walked away.
Well,
As
where was
soon as
old
I got
boy?
around that corner, you could hear them start talking again.
Oh Lord.
But that's the belief that I've always had in myself as an actor.
That's
You know,
good.
there's nobody on this planet that is better than me.
I hear you.
And that's the belief you have to have in any field that you're in. You have to believe in yourself.
Yeah, you have to.
And I want kids to understand. You have to. And yes, I mean, if I wasn't any good, especially theater, the audience will let you know automatically on stage. They will look at you. "Ugh." So
Yeah, that's like
eventually,
Apollo.
Right.
you know,
Point
eventually
tomatoes.
you'll learn if you're good at what you do or not.
Right.
But if you're good at what you do and you believe in yourself, don't let anybody tell you no.
Exactly.
Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Because if I had listened to people, you wouldn't know me right now. We wouldn't be sitting here on this computer right now. I don't know where I'd be.
Right.
I might be dead. I don't know because of the frustration within me. You know, that all eats away at you eventually.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
You become something of a dead shell. I've seen it. And it's
Yeah,
not
we've
pretty.
seen our ancestors come up through those slavery times, you know, and a lot of them came up from the South trying to get out of that way of not being able to fully graduate from school. They wanted all Black people to be journeymen instead of having that other role, as you say.
The
You know,
frustration.
yes. And
Mhm.
so they come up here and try to find a way. We do have doctors in our family, but our parents were fortunate enough to be able to teach us. We had two parents in the house, and we all are entertainers,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And my choice before I got out of high school was, yeah, my sisters always sang. My brother played guitar. Our parents made us perform, do little performances at the house when company would come over because my mother sang, played piano. My dad sang in the male chorus down south where they did the do 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 re 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 that type of
Mhm.
music.
Mhm.
I think
down
that
in
was
the
just
south.
common. That was just common in most of our families. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Well, see
yes.
that you spoke something that always brings it up in me. You talking about ancestors.
Mm-mm.
If I were to, if I were to quit, then why did my ancestors sacrifice what they did to make sure that I get to where I am?
Right. They
Exactly.
didn't quit.
They didn't quit. I
Yeah.
would be the biggest loser and I would be the biggest disappointment if I let people, if I left. My
Yeah.
ancestors sacrificed way too much to get me to be who I am. And I have to pass that on.
Yeah. Somehow we got to get our young people to have that same mentality. You know,
Yes,
that's not really common right now.
No, you see,
right,
and to me, it's like when I hear people talking about, oh, Black people don't do this, Black people don't do that. Shut the hell up.
right,
Keep
Mhm.
talking about
exactly.
what we don't do and talk about what we do.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm
And
sick of the
everything that we've
negativity.
done.
You know,
Right.
it's very difficult. And I don't want to poo-poo on the guy, but
Yeah.
it's like Deion Sanders. And I like Deion. I met
Mhm.
Deion years ago at a party, Ray Lewis' birthday party in Baltimore. And he's a really nice guy. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, he had some success at Jacksonville State. And he talked about what the HBCUs can do, but that was all talk. As soon as he got the opportunity, he ran, and now he's making money for white people.
Right.
Do you not understand that somebody has to sacrifice?
Right.
Somebody has to stay where they are to build us up. It's not going to happen. We've had 400 years of negativity.
Right.
About that.
It's
Yes.
not going to happen in my lifetime. I've turned down millions of dollars. That's what people don't understand. I've turned down millions of dollars because my conscience wouldn't allow me to do certain things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that's not for general public. I mean, I say that to you, and I say that to people I talk to. But you can't. We have to be willing to sacrifice for others.
Right.
Yes.
And if you're not willing to sacrifice for others, then you're in the way. And I'm not trying to say that I'm some kind of saint. You know, I'm just doing my little bitty part.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask you, you know, about your activism. You are involved in activism, correct?
As much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
As much as I possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we can't do it all.
Exactly.
But we can do our little part.
Right.
I'm not asking you to save the world. Here we go. I have a line. And my line is, I don't use the N-word and I don't put on the dress. That's my line.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to have my line, but I'm asking you to have a line. Have your own line. At least have a line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I appreciate about our parents is what they went through. They took that into teaching us while they were living. And I appreciate it so much that they also, a lot what the children don't get today is being taught about having God in their life, having respect in their life, because that was a lot of Black people's problems is white people would add on to their families to make a business. You know, we would kick our kids out. Can't wait till they turn 18. They got to go. They got to go. You know, but they would build foundations. And then when we would have something like I had Black business, I was in a Black business and I was proud of it, you know, but a lot of people look at you like, oh, you're a Black business. We don't believe you're a business, you know, because we're Black. But you know, we have to believe in ourselves that we can do that same thing. We can build that same mansion. And I appreciate everything that we have been blessed with as far as what our parents took the time to teach us while they were here, as far as the way of the land, you know, and holding our head up and not holding our head down, you know.
Period.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't mean to jump off the subject, but if it's something I've been wanting to ask you.
Okay.
Now, your famous character, your Big Red character, I hear you had a famous fan, Suge Knight. So, was Suge Knight going around trying to imitate Big Red?
You know, I have to say that all of his crew used to come to me all the time and tell me that he used to watch that movie over and over and over. And that's how he got to be Suge Knight. Because he watched the 5 Heartbeats. He watched me over and over. And that's not coming from his partners. That's coming from people, his inner circle. As a matter of fact, at one point they were talking about doing his autobiography, and they came to me and they said, "We want you to play him."
They want you to ever held anybody over the balcony.
But you know what?
Did he ever hold anybody over the balcony?
Yes, he apparently what is it, Vanilla Ice or whatever the hell his name is.
No.
Really?
That's what I've been told now.
Well, you know
who else?
Well, we're on the side.
Big Red, honey, everybody. And when people see you on the street, is that what they call you?
Baby, every day of my life since that movie first came out. every day of my
You
life.
get
I
at
can't go out
9
to
to
Sunday.
5.
Right, 9 to 5.
Really,
And,
9 to
and
5.
I am, once again, here we go. I am so blessed with that. You know, other actors say, well, you know, I get tired of hearing. No, I never do, because that's a blessing. That
You
for
played that
people
role
to
well.
remember your work after 30 years. It's
Yeah,
30 years and people remember your work.
Well, you
yeah.
know
I'm
what?
saying I must have done something right
And we
I
still
want
watching it.
and still watching it.
we
Thanks
still
to
watch and
Robert
sing every
Townsend.
song in it.
All kudos to Robert Townsend, because it was his, but he allowed me to do my job. It's like, you have to remember, you asked me in the beginning about who am I close to in character wise. Well, Big Red is a construct. It was on the page. Some of it was on the page, but there were other things that weren't on the page. So I take a character and I build that character brick by brick.
Okay.
There's Shakespeare in Five Heartbeats,
I
and that
know.
story is when I was in London. When I was going to school in London, I fell in love with Richard III, one of Shakespeare's plays. And what happens is Richard III, who is a hunchback and cripple, kills his. I think it's I can't remember. I think it's his cousin or his uncle. He kills him. And he's the king, and so Richard III becomes the king. And at the funeral, the king's wife, named Lady Anne, he woos Lady Anne over the casket, and he becomes his queen. Well, I love that play. So in the back of my mind, I've always kept it in the back of my mind. So cut to how many years later? That was 3-4 years later. I'm building this character, and I'm thinking to myself, why is Big Red always angry with Jimmy? Well, in my mind, I came to the understanding about the character that Eleanor was his, and Jimmy stole her from him. Now, you won't ever see that on the page. You won't see that on the screen. But as you're building a character, it does certain things to you, the way you speak and talk to people. So if you remember the scene where I first get to the boys, when I first introduced boys, and I'm talking, and that first thing out of my mouth is, "Oh, I'm just an old country boy."
Right.
Well,
You speak French.
Eleanor and Jimmy walk up, and all of a sudden, I turn to Eleanor and start speaking French. Well, that lets you know automatically, this ain't no old country boy. This man is speaking French.
Right.
On another level, it lets you know that there's a connection between him and Eleanor because she understands French. So they're speaking French to each other. So you know there's a history with them.
Okay.
And then on the third level, it cuts Jimmy out of the conversation because he doesn't understand French.
Right.
Okay.
So I went to Robert, and because of course the line was written in English, and I went to Robert and I said, Robert, can I want to speak that line in French. Can I speak that line in French? And he said no. We went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I said, come on, man, let me have this one. Let me have this one. And he finally relented and let me say it in French. 3 months later, after the movie came out, he called me up. He said, you were right about that one. Now, there were other things. You know, me as an actor, I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at you. And it's up to the director to say, nah.
Well, you know, the guy who played on, what was that, on Friday? The one that was the little short guy. He's a comedian. And he
Cat
was
Williams?
outside the store. No, the little short black guy who was telling that, what's his name, used the bathroom in the bushes. You know what I'm talking about? Who would be at the store. Yeah. Now, that's the same thing he does. He says when he acts, what makes his character so much better is because he improvises on what he does. He, you know, ad-libs his character.
Well,
Adds things into it.
That's a very dangerous slope to say that, because if you don't understand what he means by that, because you can only do things as a character that are within the scope of the movie.
Right.
Yes.
You have to be
All
very
right,
careful
Phil.
with that. I'm not improvising lines.
Mhm.
I'm staying true. If I don't change Shakespeare's lines, why would I change some contemporary writer's lines?
Right.
No. I love it when the writers are alive because I can go to them and say, can we do it this way as opposed to that
Mhm.
way?
Mm.
But you have to be true to the script.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to be very
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
I got another. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a question. So I
Uh-huh.
want to know, how was it? Because you've worked with some heavy hitters, you know what I'm saying? From Robert
Yes.
Townsend, Martin Lawrence, Snoop Dogg, the Wayans, Chris Rock, the color, you was in the Color Purple. Like, how was it working? Like,
Martin.
you are in the league with
Mm.
you're phenomenal. Like, how was that working with all these different
Once
people?
again, it's like I'm one of the only actors in the world that's been in 2 Spielberg movies.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
And I don't
That's
take
beautiful.
what I do with that is I never stay in my dressing room. I use my dressing room to put my clothes on,
Mhm.
go to the makeup chair, and I'm out and I'm watching. I'm watching
Mhm.
everybody. I'm watching them. I'm watching wardrobe. I'm watching gaffers. I'm watching best boys. I'm watching everybody
Yes.
Mm.
because I that knowledge. I love to soak up the
You can
knowledge.
always learn,
Yeah, because
correct?
now
Always
you
learn.
direct as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But see, that's the thing. Yeah, and I have worked with some of the best in the world. My very first movie taught me so much. My first movie was with Rudy Ray Moore,
Oh, wow.
Really, Ray
and it
Moore.
was called The Disco Godfather.
Yes.
And I learned so much. I only worked like 2 or 3 days, and I played the lead bad guy because those movies were done lickety split. Like
Mhm.
5 days, and they were that's how long it took to shoot them. So I worked 2 or 3 days. I made $50 a day. I thought I was rolling in the dough. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Right.
I never made $50 a day in my whole life. but
So since
but
we
at
on
the
that
same-
topic, I'm gonna say,
say
go
what?
ahead. I'm about to say, since we was on that topic, how is it going from the movies to director? Like, is it harder, easier?
Mhm.
No, because I had directed. I directed. There's a guy named Tariq Alexander who I'm going to be hopefully working with real soon on a big project. But Tariq gave me my first real. I directed a lot of theater. I've directed national tours of plays, etc. But he let me direct a commercial, and then he let me direct the Stick Up Kids, which
I
was
just watched
Another
that.
kid.
which is
Mhm.
really a fascinating movie.
Yes.
But I had a lot of control in the Stick Up Kids. But what Tariq did was my first day on this. I had done a film called the System Within with Tariq, and I worked with the actors. He asked me to work with the actors in that film. And then he was talking about a couple of years later, he was talking about doing the Stick Up Kids, and we were on the phone. And he said, "Oh, by the way, you're directing, right?" Duh. Ooh. So my first day on the set, before we started shooting, I went to him, and there was a shot that I was thinking about doing, and I went to him and I said, "Well, do you think we should do this?" He looked at me and said, "Shut the hell up and go do your job."
Because he know you had it. He knew
He
you
knew I
got it.
had it.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I mean, yeah, there's a learning curve that I have with directing, and I still haven't, I still have a lot to learn as far as directing is concerned. But he gave me the confidence to know that no matter what, he had my back, and he had the
Yeah.
confidence in me. And yes, I knew what I was doing. I'd worked with the best. It's like what you're talking about. I'd worked with Keenan. I worked with Robert. I worked with
Right.
Spielberg. I worked with what's the guy's name? Oh shoot, he did the Doors. Oliver Stone. People like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And I'd watched them. I'd studied them, and I was around those people. So yeah, I knew what I was doing. Not am I going to get better? I certainly hope so,
Yeah, you got this.
because the technology is changing. So there's things that you can do. So yes, it's like having been around, soaking up. I mean, even like I say, even in those ivory towers, I was head of the post-production ancillary markets, which was post-production, and that's where the movie is made. This guy who ran that department, what a jackass he was. But he had been in the business for 40 years. And I re-edited Rambo Part 2. What you see on the TV screen, that's my edit. Because what happens is they shot it in pan and scan, widescreen. So what you have to do is once it goes to TV, you have to make edits, because otherwise you just see half a person's nose, when they shoot it, because everything's wide. But you have to cut it down so that you make the decisions. So I made the decisions frame by frame, who's going to be seen during the lines, etc. So essentially that's my edit. And I had no clue what I was doing. But the man took me into the back room and he sat me down and he said, "This is how you do this. Now do it." So it was learning on the run. And he made me do those things. If he said, if you break the machine, call the people up and have them come fix it. He taught me. He taught me about filmmaking. And most movies are made in post-productions. There was a movie I remember, and this is how little frustration I have as an actor in certain instances. But there was a movie called Little Treasure, and it was Ted Danson's first movie, and it was Margot Kidder. He and Margot Kidder were the love interest. It was a piece of trash. It was one of the worst things you ever wanted to see. And TriStar was a brand new company at that time. They had started off with a bang. They did the Natural. They did Places in the Heart. But here was this piece of trash. And so the executives, I was running the equipment. And like I said, this is a brand new company. I mean, this guy had bought state-of-the-art equipment, editing machines, etc. So one day, the vice presidents and the presidents came, and they were trying to fix this movie. And there were about 6 of them sitting behind me. And I'm sitting at the computer, at the edit machine, and I'm running the movie. And they would stop and they would say, "Well, what do you think we ought to do, Sam?" "I don't know, Joe. What about this? What about that, Bill?" "I don't know." Then they would turn to me and they would say, "What do you think we ought to do?" Now, I ain't been in this company but 3 months. I have no clue what the hell I'm doing.
But you figured it out.
Yeah, but I would say something. I said, "Well, I think this edit, you need to put this here and put that there, put this here." And they would look, "What do you think, Joe?" "I don't know, Bill." "What do you say, Sam?" "Sounds good to me." And they would do it. Now, these men are making $1 million a year minimum. I'm sitting up here making what, $500 at the most a week, and I'm in control of this. This is insane. But that's how most of the executives have no clue how to make a movie.
Wow.
So that's why you get so much junk out of the studios, because all they're doing is justifying their salaries. They're Harvard business, but there's no Metro Goldwyn Mayers, no Warner Brothers who own the companies and are artists. Those days are gone. That's dead. But within that company, see, and I'm a boat rocker, and I'm tell you this little story, which to this day really freaks me out. But at that time when I was there, Martin Luther King's Day was not a holiday for the studios. Now, it was a national holiday, but the studios didn't observe it. You went to work on that day. Well, I thought this sucked. So I wrote a memo to the president of the companies, to the owner of the companies, the presidents, vice presidents, everybody of any importance, and said, "You need to respect your Black employees, and King, that Monday needs to be a holiday." Well, I was the only Black male there, but there were 2 secretaries. So I went to the two black secretaries and I said, "Would you sign this memo?" They looked at me like I had lost my friggin' mind.
They're
There's
like,
no way
we're
in
trying
hell
to
they
get
were gonna sign
fired.
that shit.
Right.
So, well, here we go. Once again, and like I say, I it doesn't matter to me. I'm a boat rocker. You can't pat me on the back and tell me you're a good boy, and then
Right.
keep everybody else, including my relatives, out of your company.
Right. Yeah.
I don't work that way.
Right.
So I sent the memo off under
That's
my own name by
And that's,
myself.
that's why you've been in the game for so many years. Because, like you said, you're a boat rocker. You don't just put
Well,
up with
I
that.
wasn't in the game. This was way before.
Oh, really?
What did they? What was their response to the memo?
Well, the memo came back 2 weeks later. Any employee that wishes to take the day off can do so with pay. Well, once one studio does it,
yes.
then the other studios, then if TriStar did it, now Warner Brothers has to do it, and Universal has to do it. They had to take, in the following years. Eventually, it became the holiday it should have been. It became the studios are shut down. Now they still film certain things, but the studios themselves are shut down.
Well, good.
So I produced a short film, and I took everybody up, the crew. I took everybody to the mountains outside of LA, above Palm Springs. And we shot on Saturday and Sunday. Everybody took the crew up on Friday. And so Sunday, there were people who had just gotten Sunday morning, people had just gotten in beds. There were still people on the highway. And then my girlfriend and another friend were just going down the side of the mountain, going back to LA. And me and my dog were at the cabin that we shot in by ourselves. All of a sudden, this cabin started rocking and rolling. I mean, it was the hardest earthquake I've ever been in my life. But I thought it was in Palm Springs. It's called the Coachella Valley because they're always having earthquakes in that area. Well, that Monday, I had to go back to LA. I had to drive the truck back to LA because I had to return equipment. So there's nobody on the freeways. The freeways are empty. All the businesses are closed. I had to return the equipment to. So I've never understood how bad it was in LA because that earthquake was centered in Northridge, which is north or on the valley side. So I never really understood how bad it was. Cut to 2-3 years later, I was at the house and my girlfriend at the time, she walked up to me and she said, "Do you know how many lives you saved?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Do you know how many lives you saved?" I said, "What are you talking about?" That earthquake hit on Martin Luther King Day. All those garages that collapsed, those freeways that collapsed would have been full of people.
Wow.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Yes.
Come on.
That's
See?
a blessing.
So
Yes.
never tell me what one person can or can't do.
Yeah.
Right.
And be bold. And being bold.
To this day, that freaks me out because it's my belief in others other than myself that allowed that to happen. And she realized it one day. I don't know how she came about it, and I never asked her, but she just came up to me and she said that to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great.
We want to know if that slap hurt in the 5 heartbeats.
Baby. All right, here we go with that one. I am going to write a book. I swear for Skeety B. But that let me go back. Let me get to the story of that. I wasn't originally in the funeral scene. It was Robert didn't write Big Red into that scene. Well, during rehearsals, I came up to him and I said, "Robert, I need to be in a funeral scene." And he said, "Yeah, I think you do." So I was waiting for him to write something, and he never wrote anything. Well, the scene that Jimmy comes to my house and Eddie Kane is sitting in the house. That scene was shot in the morning. Well, the night before, I sat down and wrote that funeral scene.
Oh,
That's
okay.
beautiful.
So I didn't know Robert. you know. So we shot that scene in the morning at the house, and then on the way back, he was in the car. We had the driver. He was sitting right behind me, and the producer, one of the producers, was sitting in the back seat, and I had this piece of paper that I had written the scene out, and I was like, wow, should I give this to him? So I just handed it back to him, and I said, Robert, this is what I think I need to say, and he took it, and he read it, and all he did was he said, okay, that sounds good, and he edited it, just because I wrote me a whole long speech.
I know you did.
but he edited it a little bit, and so when we got there, and where that came from, this is how it connects with that story that I was telling you about me in London. That's Richard III.
Right.
That's exactly where that came from.
Yeah.
Because I decided I'm gonna try and get this woman back. He's dead. The hell with him. I'm gonna get my woman back.
Right.
That's where that came from. So
But
anyway, to answer your question about the slap, we did maybe about 30 takes of her slapping. So
woo. Well, I was gonna ask you about
your
that
face
because
was
when she
your
slapped
face
you,
was
she
sore.
slapped you.
It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fun. But
30 times?
She's right-handed, and she had her gloves in her right hand. So she, of course, used her left hand to slap me.
Okay.
Also, it wasn't that bad. It was like a.
Yeah, no, she was hitting me now. But the thing about it is the fact that I kept saying, please don't hit me in my ear. Don't hit me in my ear. And she didn't. And Robert said the last take, he said, okay, that's it. Let's go. Moving on. And then all of a sudden I heard him say, wait a minute. I just need one more take. Just do it one more time. Sure enough, she hit me dead in my ear.
Oh,
For that very last thing. My ear rang for the next 2 hours.
oh my God.
Well, I was wondering how many takes you did of that scene, because when she slapped you and she pulled those glasses down, I just wondered, I said, how many times did they bust that laugh? Because the attitude that you two had and the way you shook your head and she dropped them glasses and looked at you, I know it made you laugh.
It was that hair.
Oh, it was. I was so deep in
that red hair.
I was so deep in that character. It was like, yeah.
How long did it take him to dye your hair that red?
That took. Robin had these guys. There's another funny story. The guy he's passed. The head hairstylist. Frank was the guy that actually did my hair on a daily basis. But I forget the head hairstylist, but they took me to the shop 3 times, and Robert, we would go back and they would say, Robert, is that what you want? He said, no, I want it red. So it took like 3 times to the shop to get the color that he wanted, even though I was born with that color.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked natural.
No, all the kids in my family were born with either red or blonde hair. Matter of fact, my youngest brother, my mother took him to work once, and she told this story. She said when she took him to work, the people at work said, I didn't know you were married to a white man. Because we all had red and blonde hair, but it turns dark, as you grow older. One of my brothers, my brother right underneath me, had a big blonde patch in his hair until he was like 20-something. But that's black folks reaching back and grabbing genes that you don't know where the hell they're coming from.
Right. That's what that is.
Yeah. So yeah, even though that was my natural hair color, even though now it had turned dark, but they had to get the right color, right shade that he wanted.
And then I also have a comment over here from Brandon. He said, hey, they pissed me off when they shot you on Speed, but you was driving that bus on Speed.
All right, here we go. Here's another story. It always comes up. Speed. I turned Speed down twice because I thought it was stupid. And they weren't offering me enough money. Matter of fact, they came back and they said, my agent called me up and she said, what they said was, what's his problem? He's getting the same amount of money as the white woman. And they weren't talking about Sandra Bullock. They were talking about the woman that got blown up. So they thought a black man should be happy with making white women money. That's what they said. Now this is not anything I'm making up. This is how they think about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the truth. So anyway, so I turned it down a couple of times. And I finally, they came back and they said, look here, we'll give you more money and we'll put your name in the opening credits. I said, cool. However, in the original, one of the reasons I turned it down was in the original script, the black bus driver has a heart attack. And I thought to myself, you got all these heroic white people on this bus, and the black man goes, oh, Elizabeth, here I come. I said, no, hell no. I'm not doing that. So what they did was they wrote it so that I got shot. But, however, had I had the heart attack, I would have stayed on the bus for 2 more weeks and made a whole hell of a lot more money. The residuals would have been more because residuals are based on how much money you make. By me having a conscience, they took me off the bus, but I lost a lot of money. But it doesn't matter. I'm not having that black man be the one, the coward on the bus.
Right.
Now, you can offer it to somebody else, knock yourself out, but not me. You got all, like I say, you got all these heroic white people on this bus, and then you got the
Well, you know, we always get killed within the first 5 minutes.
Right. We be surprised if you get
that's okay, but it's how you get killed and how you die.
Yeah.
Because those images go around the world.
Yeah, they do. They do.
You know, it's like people ask me all the, you ask me about people talking about me. I got mobbed in Africa. I got mobbed in Paris. I've had Japanese people come up to me talking about, oh my God. I was in Brazil. I had hookers standing talking about, oh my God, it's you.
He said I had hookers ready.
You don't understand how powerful this business is. Those people, that's why you got Vietnamese people who can come over here. Now, my friends died in Vietnam to liberate them. I got friends who came back who died here because mentally they never came back to liberate them. But now they can come over here and look at you like you're a dog.
Right.
Right. Make that make sense.
Right.
Make that make sense. Exactly. But it's because of the fact that what they see on the screen is what they read. You know, my friends would always come back, and thank God I didn't have to go because my brother and my father kept me out. That's a whole different story. But that's the reason I didn't go. But my friends would come back and say the women in Vietnam was, you know, when they were trying to get together with some of the women, they would say, no, too biggie. Where do you get this idea from? It's what you've read, what you've been taught. It's the media.
Right.
And if you don't understand how important the media is, the images that we portray.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I don't know how y'all feel, but God bless him. I have nothing against Tyler Perry. But we can't just do Tyler Perry. I mean, for every married with children that they have, they got 1,000 other serious shows to counterbalance that. That I don't get. God bless Tyler Perry. Let him do his thing. But what I need is our stuff, the real, who we really are, to counterbalance what that buffoonery is. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking him not to do that stuff. I'm asking that we can we get some of the serious stuff of who we really are. We know who we are. And that shit that we see on television, on the screen, is not who we are.
Right.
Well, who is somebody that you would like to portray?
Oh, baby. There's so many. It's too many for me to even say. I mean, there are so many heroes that we have. You know, everybody wasn't lynched from a tree. There are people who stood up and say, "Mess with me."
Mm-hmm.
Right. That part.
Who stood on their front porches and said, "Come on, get it."
Uh-huh.
Any of those people.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a few relatives be put out of the South because of that. They
Oh,
wasn't going for that.
Wasn't going for that.
Yeah,
But
they
we don't
wasn't
get to
going
see
for it, so
them
they
on
had to
screen.
move. I've had a few uncles that could never go back to the South. You know, one white woman liked one of my uncles, and when it was found out that she had courted or messed around with him, now she's going to act like, oh no, not me, it's him. And of course, you know that's what they used to do. And so he was put out of the South. He could never go back to live there.
Mm-hmm. And also stories about Columbus's navigator. Columbus's navigator was an African. He'd already been here.
Exactly.
Columbus and all the people in their diaries, they always say there were Africans here when we got here.
Right.
Because because if you know currents, the west coast of Africa, the currents go from the west coast of Africa to the east coast of this continent. You can get in a rowboat and come here. The problem, of course, is getting back because you can't go against the current. But the statues, the Olmec statues in Mexico, did you know that there are pyramids in Ohio?
Oh, now somebody told me that you know about Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Manhattan comes from an African word called from the Manhattoes people. That's where Manhattan comes from. Because there were Africans living there. Yes, there were other people who came from Asia from the west side, but they're Africans here. Those are the stories I want to be telling. Those are the things that need to be told to the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, they didn't want us to learn about that in our schools.
Yeah,
So that's why they had
all
to
that
keep us
right now.
separated.
Yeah.
Because
And
in
still
our
fighting
schools,
like
they
crazy
were
to
going to
make
give us
sure that
what
we
they
don't
wanted
know.
us to think
I
instead
mean,
of what was true.
Trying to kill our history now,
Yeah.
right now, as we speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to ban all those books and ban
Yes.
everything. And
Yeah, they would kill you
rewrite
if you learned how to
history.
read. You
Yeah,
had to
that's what
sneak
they're
and read
trying
a
to do
book.
is rewrite history.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to know what made you decide to accept our invitation for this interview.
Shout out Vince Young.
You know, you know the guy that introduced us. I can't think of his name right off.
Vince Young.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, he's just a person I know on Facebook, and he said that you wanted to interview me, and so you know, I'm not doing a lot of interviews, but for this one, I said I'm gonna do this one for whatever reason it is.
Wow.
We
definitely
We
appreciate
so appreciate it.
it. We are so much a fan of yours.
Yes, we are a big fan of yours.
Well, that's what Vince said. He said you're a fan, and that you have this podcast, and that he asked if I would do it, and I said okay, yeah.
I was shocked when he said you said okay. When he sent it to me, I said he said okay. I'm like, are you playing with me? He like, no. Let me see the screenshot. He said okay.
Yeah, but see, like it goes back to what I said in the beginning. I don't want to die with this knowledge up here.
Right.
I want it to be passed on, and you and God bless you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Because you don't understand how important it is.
Yes. And us supporting our own as well.
Yeah, we gotta support each other.
Exactly. And I support my own.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. We support you very much.
Oh, appreciate you.
How stupid would I be if I don't support you guys? Because you're the ones that put money in my pocket.
Yes. And
we do want you to have a Hoodcast, something with Hoodcast on it.
You know, you just got to say you watched the Stick Up Kids.
Yeah,
well, hopefully I ain't got no money for the Stick Up Kids, but hopefully one day it'll make some money so that I can at least get a nickel. But you
I'm gonna have
watch
to
it.
find that
You
one.
me.
I'm gonna find that
It's
one.
on
Just pick
Tubi.
up
You gotta
Tubi.
see
I was
it.
saying
It's
it's
on
on
Tubi.
Tubi.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you just Google my name,
Yeah,
you know,
I heard
here
you.
on Cox channel, I can say my name into the thing, and a lot of movies will come up that I've done.
Period.
Yeah.
But you know, now we can't get out here without saying we loved you in Martin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Find this baby clown.
With them bombs.
That was my favorite.
Find my baby clown.
It's just like, wow, I get to play for a living. I had fun that week. And I have to tell you, my mother came out for the taping. My grandmother had passed already, but my mother came out for the taping. And that day that we did the taping on a Friday, Tashina and Tisha took my mother under their wing
That's beautiful.
and just showed her everything.
Wow.
And I will forever be grateful for them for that.
And we
You know,
love
this-
Martin too. That he is
Yeah, we
so
do.
It seemed like that
funny.
was a fun. That would
Oh,
be
it
a
was.
fun scene to
I
be
had
know
a
it was.
blast.
Right.
And
I know you laughed the whole time you
tell you a
worked
story
with
about
him,
that
huh?
one. A quick story about that audition. Well, I was trying to, you know, I told my agent, I said, I'm trying to build up to bigger roles, and I'm not going out for no one-liners and all that kind of stuff anymore. So next thing I know, she said, "Oh, you got to audition for Martin." I said, "What is it?" She said, "Well, it's for one line." I was so angry, I didn't know what to do with myself. And because it was already set up, I didn't want people to lose face, etc. So I said, "Yeah, I'll go." But remember, I'm not doing this crap anymore.
Right.
So I was in the room waiting, you know, with all the rest of the actors and stuff, and I'm fuming. I'm just steam coming out of my head. But so what? See, when I did Fresh Prince, all the writers were white. All except one, and he was a friend of Will Smith's from Philly, that he got to be a writer on the show. But everybody was white. So they called my name to go into the room to audition, and I grabbed the door handle and I slung the door open. And I stood there and I looked. There was this big long table. And around the table, there must have been 8 to 10 people. Martin was sitting at the end, way down at the end. And there was a guy named, we call him Big Sam. His name is Sam Art Williams. And he had written a play, a prize-winning Broadway play called Home. And I've known Big Sam a long time. And he was sitting at the other end of the table. And all those writers sitting around that table were black.
Wow.
And I stood there and I just looked. And my anger just went away. It just went away. And Martin said to me, he looked at me, he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, well, I came to audition for, you know, to do this line. He said, "Oh, no. And then he said, "Okay, just read the line." So I read the line. And I left. 2-3 weeks later, my agent called me and said, Martin called, and they said they're getting ready to do the Christmas show, and they'll write it for you if you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
Praise God. That's beautiful.
Right.
So that's how that came about. They wrote that show specifically for me.
And you played that
And
part. I
you
love
played
that.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
it
did.
was so much
That
fun.
part.
It was
you had
so
BB
much
and
fun.
CC singing that song.
Right.
Oh, BB and CC. And that was something I improvised. Oh, CC, you so fine. That was one of those things that I came up with. So.
And when you had the day they pulled the pin, and you was like, "Oh no, that's real."
It's just so much fun. You know, it's go back to you asked me about directing, and you know, I have been cut out of so much stuff. I did a film with Alec Baldwin called Heaven's Prisoners, which we shot in New Orleans. And there's a line. I played the bad guy in the movie, and he kills me, but he's trying to figure out who sent me to kill his wife, because I killed his wife. I shotgun her in the bed. He just happens not to be there, but I kill her as she's sleeping. So he finds me and he shoots me and I'm dying, and he leans over and he says, who did it? And I look at him, I say something to the effect of, did her. And he doesn't understand what I said. So he leans in closer and he says, who sent you? And I said, I did your old lady, motherfucker. And I died. So I read the script and I said, wow, what a way. Straight to hell he goes. It was great. You know, that's one of the reasons I really want to do that movie. So sure enough, I got the role, and I had to go in and do some ADR. Now in the movie script itself, the people in the film talk about, my name is Victor Romero. And they talk about all throughout the whole movie, they say, don't mess with Victor. That's the baddest man in New Orleans. Well, in the final cut, when we shot it, we shot our own laundry, and we shot from the front door of the laundry all the way through the third floor, just blasting at each other. We were blasting walls, we were blasting, water coolers, etc. Well, in the cut, we go from the front of the door to no more than 30 seconds later, he shoots me, and I die. Well, when I had to go to do some ADR, which is looping, that's when they when they're shooting it, if they don't understand the line or something, you have to go back and you have to redo it, post production. So I had to do some ADR, a couple lines, and the director came to me. He said, "Now don't be upset, but we had to cut you out of." And I said, what happened? What's the problem? He said, and he hemmed and he hawed for about 10, 15 minutes. And he finally told me, he said, look, you made Alec look like a punk. So we had to cut you out.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Right.
Because I did my job and he didn't do his. He got 10 movies lined up to do. I'm counting on this movie to take me to another level.
Yeah.
Right.
I get cut out. But that's Hollywood. That's happened to me a lot.
Well, hopefully the courts is as gracious with him.
Well,
right?
He's not going to. I don't even think he's going to get prosecuted. I really don't think so. But he could. But it's nothing really going to happen to him. But that's the business we're in.
But that's just like when they went and got Mort Downey Jr. out of jail when he was on the drugs. They went and personally got him out of jail to do movies. Mm-hmm. They would have never done that for us.
No, never. Look at what they did to Terrence Howard. You know Terrence Howard made more money than Robert Downey on the first what's the name of the movie? Not Meteor Man. That's Robert's movie.
You talking about not the Avengers, but
yeah, it's from that series of stuff. But
because
Iron Man. Yeah, Terrence Howard made more money.
Iron Man.
Yeah, but when the movie became a success, they told Terrence, "You got to take a pay cut because we're giving Robert Downey more money," and Terrence just shove it. So that's how they treated us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, from being in the
I'm surprised Terrence didn't come in there.
Well, and from being in the industry, they have, like I said, it's very political. Being in the music industry, I learned that, record deals and stuff like that, you have different doors you go through. You have the doors for the blacks. You have the doors for the whites. Mm-hmm. You have the A&R for the blacks, A&R for the white. So they know what you are when you're coming through different doors. You know what I'm saying? That it's very political.
It is.
It's all about the politics more than it is about the your acting and stuff. They play you.
Absolutely. And I learned that. But see, Terrence was on Facebook just this past week. That I don't know when he did the interview, but But he made for Hustle and Flow, I think he's made something like $12,000-$15,000.
For Hustle and
Mm.
Flow?
That's all.
That's it.
What?
He hasn't gotten any residuals. What they did was he did all those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know he's not gotten a penny from those songs? What they did was the studio put those songs under their name.
See.
He's apparently suing right now. But I mean, that was Hustle and Flow, 15 years old now.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
older
he's
than that.
just now and never got a dime for his music.
Wow.
It's all going to the production company.
That's
Mm.
messed up. Yeah.
You know?
And see, you know, that's why.
That's messed up.
So I want
Yeah.
to know, like, do you have anything that's new, up and coming? Any films that you're working on or directing or going to be in?
There are a couple of things that are in the works. I won't talk about them right now. But if these things come to pass, baby, it's gonna be on and popping.
Well, you know, if you need us, just
Right.
we got you.
We need that audition. Let us know when you're having auditions.
I know where you are. No, but
I was a music major.
okay. But that, I mean, that's kind of stuff. You know, my people ask me who my idols are, and my idol is Clint Eastwood, not the Republican that talks to the empty chair, but the guy who gets to direct, act, and do what he wants to do.
Yes.
That's what I want to be able to do. And these things that are coming up, I will have some kind of say so.
Mm-hmm.
And script wise, you know, from A to Z. It's like one guy who's a really good writer. He hasn't gotten anything done yet, but we work on this. We've been working on this script, and it's not. I'm not even the lead, but I have influence into certain aspects so that it doesn't become coonery. So you know, so it means something. And ladies, I am very protective of Black men.
Okay.
Because of my grandparents, my grandfathers, and my father were the greatest men I've ever met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And we never get to see those great Black men on screen.
Right.
You know, we always get to see the dogs. We always get to see the pieces of crap.
Right.
Yeah.
We never get to see great Black men.
That's true.
Or very, very seldom. Or
Right.
we get to see weak men. Nowadays, it's like, you look at a commercial, you would think that every Black man in America is gay.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's wrong.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, but we aren't all that way.
Right.
Can we reflect who we are? You know, we have everybody. We have strong Black men. So that's that's really where my passion is. To make sure
you have to fight for them because they wanted to stop that reproduction from Black men.
Yeah.
That's why they wanted to place most of them in jail so they could take away from the reproduction of the Black children from Black men.
You know, I have a friend that wants to do the Dred Scott case as a play or a film or something. And that's important to know. That's one of those things that I want to do, the Dred Scott case.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are the kind of things that mean something to me. Those are the kinds of things that we reflect, that you and I, males and females, can work together with each other and not be at each other's throats all the damn time.
Exactly.
Right. It's not always no competition.
No, it's not.
We got to come together. We got to come together.
I saw my mother and father work together.
Yeah.
And I've
never dated anybody I couldn't work with.
Yeah, and I saw other parents working with each other. They were at the PTA meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's not, you know, if you went to that Catholic school, you had to go to the PTA meetings. You had to go. You had to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I want those things to be reflected on who I am and who we are. And I keep saying we, and I don't separate myself.
Right.
It's who we are.
We are. Yeah.
That's too important. We. Because like I say, you know, you don't see Asian people, you know, fighting at each other at their throats. You don't see Jews at each other's throats. And my ex-girl used to be Milton Berle's personal secretary, personal assistant.
Milton Berle.
And so I would go to those places and sit with them. I would sit and smoke cigars at Milton's house, Uncle Milty's house with him. So I go around them.
Milton
And
Berle.
I
That
know in those back rooms, they hate each other. They cut each other's throats in that back room, but when they go out that front door, they got their tongues down each other's throats. You fuck with one, you mess with all of them.
Right.
Oh, this interview has been so enlightening.
It has been
Like this has been like
This
Great.
is beautiful. Yes.
yes, like this has been so amazing.
Yes,
Yes.
So much knowledge. I'm happy you shared it with us on our platform so we can give it to our people. Because that's what we're about. We're about helping others overcome doubt. That's what HOOD stands for. So, you know what I'm saying? This right here, just the things that you've done, and like what you say, you say you step on toes, you don't give a care what they talking about. You're gonna do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully this interview helps people believe in themselves more. You know what I'm saying? And speak up.
Let me reiterate once again how important I know you are, because information cannot be held back from us anymore.
Right.
Yes, sir.
When I was a kid, there was ABC, CBS, NBC, and sometimes PBS.
Right.
They could control everything that you read and you heard. Now there's this thing called internet, which is a cursing and a blessing at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you really want to know who you are, click on that internet and research. There's no excuse for us not having the information anymore. You can't stop the information from flowing freely. It's that they still try to control it. I mean, it's like if you look at the music that we have nowadays, it's like no more love songs. All it is nothing but, you know, everybody bitches and hoes and how much money you got. But if you look for it, you can find these kids who are actually rapping about real things.
Yep.
Yellow Rain is one.
But they don't get to have the airplay. They don't get to have the major studio release because those studios aren't controlled by us.
Right.
You know, back in the day when Tupac and KRS and some you know the guys I'm talking about, when they were talking about real stuff. All of a sudden, them people looked at it and said, "Oh, wait a minute! We can't have them people talking about real stuff." So they still control it, but it doesn't have to be. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I want you to know I really appreciate you and what you do.
Love you.
Thank you
And we
so
definitely
much.
appreciate you.
Yes,
And we appreciate that being a Black man and being a star, you did not change the Black person who you are and where you come from. That's just like I was interviewed by Rolling Stone and they asked me how it felt to be a star. And I said, I'm still who I've always been. That will never change. You know, I just appreciate the, you know, blessing of being able to perform, you know, and I pass that on to my daughter and support her very highly. And told her,
Thank you so much.
you know, that when she talks about something or when she, you know, does music and she does this, but I told her, always talk about something. That's why I told her she had to finish school.
Right. Well, man, hopefully we can do this again when you got something coming out. Maybe we could, you know, promote it, or you know, you can promote it on here, talk about it, or we can come to an audition.
We'll take
maybe,
one
maybe
line. We'll
take that one line.
Maybe you can get us on that red carpet to that red carpet event.
Best believe I've taken one line before in my life. I just was at a point where I just tried to grow a little bit more, but I didn't know them one liners. I was an extra for like 8 to 10 minutes. So.
Right.
We thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time.
Okay, thank you guys.
We're gonna be following you on everything you do.
Okay.
Right.
And we
all
will
right.
definitely
I appreciate
always
that.
say a prayer for you.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
got
so much.
fans for life.
Live.
I
Thank
really,
you.
really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of Hood Talk Podcast.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.